What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jacked Ramsays pregame show. I'm your host, Danny Marang, joined as always by Brandon Sprague. Well, we brought a special guest this time. If you caught us early in the season when we talked about, or I should say early before the season started, we had Justin Rowan of the Chasedown pod on to talk about the acquisition of Lauri Nance Jr. We will also highlight Lauri Nance Jr.'s first official return back to Cleveland, which is already underway as he lost a bet to Wade, correct?
Yes. He is wearing a Travis Kelce jersey today in Cleveland.
So Larry's a Northeast Ohio guy through and through, so I'm assuming that means he's a Browns fan. Chiefs, not exactly a great jersey to be wearing there, but Kelce is from Ohio
he is
as well.
From Ohio,
there's
you know what, he found a loophole, and that's just that's that IQ that the signature Lauri Nance Jr. IQ, finding a way to honor his promises, but also still find a little bit of solace in it.
Justin, is he a Browns fan or is he a LeBron Browns fan? Like, what level of fandom are we talking about?
My understanding is that he, like CJ McCollum, are both diehard Browns fans.
All right,
that's a tough watch. Well, thanks, man, for joining us. This Cleveland team is for the Blazers. They are on game 3 of a road trip, this 3-game road trip, where they have dropped the first 2 games in unceremonious fashion to the Charlotte Hornets, as well as the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know if you can call them the 76ers. Maybe it was like the 65ers with who they were missing.
Justin, do you want like a rim shot to that, or like?
Yeah, Justin, can you get him to stop these awful dad jokes? Like
they're just going to get worse.
And they're already bad.
They're just going to get worse. That's but they were missing Joel Embiid.
And they still got the win, so you kind of got Philadelphia 69er there.
Buzzing.
That's a good one.
There you go. They got turned upside down. What can you say? No Joel Embiid, no Tobias Harris, obviously no Ben Simmons, and then you had no Danny Green after the first half. But yeah, the Blazers have looked. I think the simple way to put it is like doo-doo. They have not looked good in these last 2 games. A lot of issues popping up. Most probably importantly is Damian Lillard not being able to throw a rock in the ocean. Pretty important when he's having the literal worst stretch of his entire career. We kind of know where the Blazers are at right now. Where are the Cleveland Cavaliers at? Because I think most people would not have predicted them, even though 4-4 isn't this outstanding record.
Yeah,
it's pretty sterling when you look at who they've played.
Yeah, who they played, and also this is going to be their 3rd home game of the season. It's pretty remarkable that their only home games was a Friday, Saturday back-to-back early in the year before they headed on this 5-game road trip, where they went 3-2. It's been really encouraging. I think how good they look early on in this season has been a bit of a surprise, even to an optimist like myself. Last year, one of the big issues was the offense wasn't that imaginative, right? Like you're just basically running some high pick and roll, a lot of guys standing around. And this year, there's real juice to what they're doing. Like everyone's kind of sacrificing. Sexton and Garland in particular, guys that were a little higher usage, are learning how to play off ball, how to do the relocations and things that really help facilitate more team success and a healthier flow of the offense. And so far, I would say offensively, the process has been better than the results. You have a lot of good shooters missing open shots. On the Chasedown's kind of preview for this game, noted that the Portland Trailblazers are giving up about 36, I believe, wide open 3-pointers a game.
Truckload, and they're all coming from the corner.
So my hope coming in was that, hey, maybe this is going to be a bit of a get-right game for the Cavs. I mean, their defense is what's really propelling the success early on. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley being real big parts of that. But it is a little more difficult now for the Cavs when you have someone that was probably due for some positive regression in Lauri Markkanen being out of the lineup. Someone named Kevin Love, who has been bought in this season, coming in off the bench in a reduced role, having the third best on-off rating out of the Cavs that have played over 100 minutes. Like, he was really, really competing and making a difference. So losing those two big men for a team that's had success playing large this season, I think is going to be an interesting challenge for this team.
Justin, I'm really curious to pick your brain on this. One, I got to admit, I'm super bummed that we found out that he was going to be out today with the COVID stuff. Obviously, Kevin just got hurt, because I kind of wanted to see a young, feisty Cleveland Cavalier team healthy versus this Portland team to see how Portland would respond. But we talked about Ant coming into the year. And Danny, obviously, I mean, he worships him. Look in the background there. He's got a statue of him. Like, he had a lot of expectations. I was optimistic about Ant. He has exceeded my expectations. We talked a lot about Evan Mobley, too, when you were on last time. And I'm curious, how is he compared versus what you thought he would be? Has he exceeded even what you thought he'd be?
You know what? He's doing what I expected him to be able to do, just a little earlier. Like, when you're talking about young players, and I mean, when it comes to even evaluating this Cavs team, you've got, well, I guess Lauri is 24, but everyone else is 23 young and under, right? So they're probably not going to be as good as their best moments. They're not going to be as bad as their worst moments. And it's all about trying to find that consistency, right? Making those bad games a little less harmful, making sure your good games are a little more frequent. And with Evan Mobley, like, he learns so much from game to game, like even looking from summer league to preseason to the regular season. He's like a supercomputer out there. It's absolutely unbelievable the way that he picks things up, the intelligence that he has, the fact that he's going out there and not fouling. Like, that was a big thing about what he did in college, and he's doing it in the NBA, and he's doing it in really impressive situations. Like, the fact that they use him at the top of a 3-2 zone, the way that Minnesota used Kevin Garnett back in the day, and it's working, is unbelievable. I was lucky enough to go down to Cleveland for the only 2 home games they played this season, and you would have Trae Young or Terry Rozier one-on-one with Evan Mobley and thinking, hey, okay, we've got this matchup, and they would do their normal moves to get open, and then as they're going up, it's, oh crap, he recovered. He's impacting this shot. He's ruining my life on this offensive possession. And the interesting thing for him is he's still making a ton of mistakes. Like, he will gamble unnecessarily. The footwork isn't always there, but the natural gifts he has defensively and the length that he has makes up for it. Like, he's doing the wrong thing sometimes defensively and still ending up with a great contest. So he has exceeded my expectations, and they were expectations that were pretty high coming in.
When you're looking at this Cavs team right now, I think you and I have talked about this really the last couple of years, trying to get that identity for the Cavs. And with Mobley, you have an identity. I think you and I are probably in the same spot here, where if Mobley won a Defensive Player of the Year in the next 5 years, it wouldn't come as a shock.
No,
like he's that good on that side of the ball.
He might make an all-defensive team as a rookie if he continues on this path.
I was gonna say, Danny, I feel like you're selling him short. If you told me it was the next 3,
I'm sorry. I was trying to remember what it was the other night. I thought it was 5, but yeah, I genuinely believe, because exactly what you just talked about, Justin. Nobody comes into the NBA and knows how to play defense. Especially at that position. At that position, and one and done guys. There have been 2 bigs in the modern NBA who have come in and been this impactful. Shaquille O'Neal and Tim Duncan. That's it. That's the list. And you're talking about the most physically dominant player probably in NBA history, and maybe the smartest big to ever play the game.
Yeah. And the other big factor is, like, when we discussed the Larry Nance trade, what I had said was one of the big gambles that the Cavs were making coming into the season was that Evan Mobley was going to replace what Nance brought to the table, both defensively and also that playmaker out of the short roll in the high post, and the processing speed when they trap the Cavs guards, because that was a thing that we saw a lot last season and was really, really difficult for the Cavs to deal with, especially with Nance being out of the lineup. They now have a guy with a massive catch radius in Evan Mobley that, like, he will find the baseline cutter before he's even, like, his feet have touched the ground. Like, he will make perfect decisions in that situation, and the fact that you can get almost veteran-like like intelligence out of a rookie in his second week in the NBA is something that, like, if I said it before the season, like I would look like a lunatic, like I'd look like a homer, and it's just really, really impressive. I expect bad games, I expect bad moments and setbacks throughout this whole thing, but having someone that looks like a franchise player just makes so much it makes everything
the highs are
easier.
Stratospheric. That's the thing. It's not I can see him with Isaac Okoro. You can see the learning curve. I understand. Right. Okay, with Mobley, this guy looks like Kevin Garnett.
And you can start to build an identity, right? Like you can start saying, okay, clearly great chemistry between he and Darius Garland. The pairing with Jared Allen is already working on both ends of the floor. And once you kind of have that structure, that foundation in place, it's easier to say, okay, these are the types of role players we need to maximize this. It's easier for a role player like Cedi Osman, who's already on the roster, to know exactly what he needs to do, and he's played better as a result of that. Lauri Markkanen has really bought in, and it's unfortunate to not have him in, but it's just really encouraging to see a team this young, all bought in, all working really, really hard, and guys like Lauri, who, I mean, the kind of rep on him throughout his career was, if he's not hitting his shots, he's useless. Mm-hmm. And he's going out there and he's not hitting his shots, but he's getting steals, he's getting blocks, he's making hustle plays, like he's doing all the other little things. So to see that kind of buy-in from a young team is incredibly encouraging.
Yeah, I think the beauty of having him and taking that swing was you're seeing a guy that realizes kind of where his career could be going, and saying, no, I'm too young. I can change the narrative about myself. And the couple games I've been able to see of Cleveland, I've been really impressed with him kind of fitting in with the mold of some of the younger guys. Mm-hmm. What is something, though, that I don't know if bothers is the right term, but what's something about this team that you still kind of get hung up on, and you're kind of hoping that they can break out of whatever they do badly? What is that for Blazer fans that maybe haven't seen them play?
I would say the biggest thing is still for Garland and Sexton to take more three-pointers. Like both of them their natural tendency is to get into the lane, Sexton to create for himself, Garland to create for others. And I think they're both playing better team basketball this season, but this team isn't going to have a very high ceiling offensively unless those guys are getting that three-point rate up. Like that is the clearest path. They don't have a traditional small forward outside of Cedi Osman. And without that, like, if you're playing through your bigs, there's only so many points per possession you're going to score if you're getting those points in the paint, right? So those guys recognizing that, hey, if I am pulling up from three, if I'm generating gravity by being a real threat, it's going to open up opportunities for myself in the interior. It's going to open up opportunities for other guys. So it's really about those guys kind of overcoming some of their natural tendencies and just firing away. And, you know, 3-point rates are down, or 3-point percentage is down across the league. Maybe that has some factor on it where, hey, if I'm 1 of 5, I'm less likely to take the 6th. But at the same time, like I said, the process has been better than the results. And I think they just got to stick with that positive process and get that proper shot profile, just kind of trusting that, hey, I've been a good shooter to this point in my career. I'm going to knock these down eventually.
So what is the storyline for tonight's game? What is it that the Cavs need to do to be able to compete in this game? Because obviously we talked about Evan Mobley, and we've kind of mentioned Jared Allen a little bit, but what is it about those two in the front court that kind of makes it all work on both ends for it? And what kind of season is Garland having that's maybe going to be able to basically be the offensive engine for him now?
Yeah, I mean, Garland's playmaking has been phenomenal this year. A little bit of turnover issues. I kind of raised the theory on the podcast that it's almost like with the increased physicality that's being allowed in the paint, I think smaller guards are a little thrown off by that. Like, it's almost like if all of a sudden in the NFL you're allowed to kill guys over the middle and a receiver's just running his route like, okay, yeah, I've got this, and then boom, like he just gets smoked, right?
The 2000 Ravens would exist again.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I think that's throwing them off, right? Because there was more freedom of movement, and there's been those kind of forcing passes in the paint and struggling with that. So I think the key for the Cavs, one, is managing turnovers, because they have been a very, very good half-court defense. But with those turnovers and those semi-transition opportunities, teams have really burnt them. Like, that's how the Charlotte Hornets, when they won it in Cleveland, they were getting buckets after made baskets by the Cavs. Like, if a Cavs guard finished at the rim, the fact that they had Lauri, Mobley, and Allen, or Love, or whoever else was out there, 3 bigs, you were able, if you push the pace after a basket, to get like a 5-on-3. Now, the effort's been a lot better getting back defensively, but keeping the Blazers out of transition, limiting those easy opportunities, and keeping them in the half court, I think is going to be really, really important for them, because the reality of having Mobley and Allen is if a guy gets beat on the perimeter, those guys can capably switch onto them. They're rotating really well. They've allowed the Cavs guards to gamble a little bit more defensively. When Lauri was in the lineup, you had a 7-footer contesting shots on the perimeter, and if they got by him, you know that Allen or Mobley is able to come over. So I think keeping the Blazers out of the half court is probably the best way, or keeping them in the half court, I should say, is the best way to prevent this being a get-right game for Dame, which is scary.
Here's the thing on that, though, real quick. Sprague and I talked about this the other night. If you go look at the metrics right now so far, again, small sample size theater, but the Blazers are actually a significantly better team in the half court right now than they are in transition. They actually, their points per possession right now is better in the half court than in transition.
I believe that, but in this matchup,
it's such a weird thing.
It's different too, right? Because I don't think the Cavs are really going to be going three bigs. Like even if they elected to start like Dean Wade at small forward, which I hope isn't the case. Like he's basically the only backup big, and I think you need to balance out the rotation a little easier. Yeah, like I think this should be an opportunity for Jetty Osman, Dylan Windler, Lamar Stevens. Those guys can kind of play on the perimeter. So I hope that's not the case. But given this matchup and given how kind of unique the roster construction is for the Cavs, I would expect the Blazers to have more success in transition, despite what's happened so far this season.
Well, and I would say too, for Cavs fans that are maybe tuning in to see what you're saying about this and to kind of get the feel of the Blazers, like me and Danny have talked about, their best lineup is actually Dame and the bench guys. It's not the starting lineup. It's Dame, Naz, Ant, Cody, Zeller, and Larry Nance. That's the most productive offense they have.
It's insane. It's a plus really 40 rating.
Yeah, it's off the charts. They play really well together. It's not the starting lineup. I know it's kind of, this might be difficult, I guess, a little bit because of the situation with COVID and whatnot. But when you look at them tonight, with the guys they have available, what's the lineup you're kind of eyeing that could cause maybe the most chaos or concern for Portland?
If I had to guess what the best lineup is going to be, it's probably Garland, Rubio, Osman, Mobley, and Allen. Like, Garland and Rubio have been very good together. Early in the season, Garland really was uncomfortable playing with Rubio. You could see he was kind of standing around the perimeter. I mean, the reality is he had never played with another point guard in Cleveland. Like
particularly a traditional point guard.
Right. Yeah, like Matthew Dellavedova is a little more of a combo guard. He was a talented passer, but he's not like Ricky Rubio, right? There's different tiers to this.
Savant playmaker, yes.
Right. And the last few games, like now, last 4 games actually, he has a higher usage with Rubio on the floor versus off, right? Like he's starting to become a little bit more comfortable there. So just what Ricky Rubio has brought to this team just can't be overstated. I mean, going from not having a backup point guard last season to having someone come off the bench who hasn't
probably
come off the bench his entire career, right? Like he's still probably a low-end starter in the NBA. That's made a really, really huge difference. It's helped keep Sexton in his best role off ball. Sexton's really, really improved as a cutter. I know the raw numbers are down for the Cavs guard, but like I said, I think they're playing better
process
basketball.
over results.
100%, and they're playing better basketball. Like this is something that can actually really benefit their long-term development because, I mean, as much as you want to see those guys on ball, if you have Evan Mobley as a playmaker, if you're going to have multiple playmakers, which almost every great offense does now in the NBA, like if you don't, you run a heliocentric and you get great numbers, but it always dies in the playoffs. If you're going to build one with multiple playmakers, these guys have to learn how to play off ball. So the fact that Ricky Rubio has helped smooth that transition over as these guys kind of go through some growing pains and giving that steadying presence, making sure those second unit minutes don't die, has really, really helped the Cavs have such a good record through 8 games.
Do Cavs fans hate you dropping that term process? Because Blazer fans with Danny are like, hey, man, can you stop with this process stuff? You guys like bosom buddies over here. How do Cavs fans react when you drop the process term?
I think they like it. I am someone that has really, really crapped all over the Sixers process and whatever the hell OKC is doing. So I think they know.
What the hell are they doing? I appreciate that statement.
Stupid stuff. Like it was stupid when Philly did it. It is even more stupid when the worst record in the league gives you a 48% chance of picking fifth. You might as well just kind of prioritize development, get some vets in there so that every young player doesn't hate your organization and might actually have a chance of turning into something. I'm not the biggest fan of it, especially when they are hurting two Canadians that I care about so much, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
There it is. There it is. I
the
knew
real
it.
reason he doesn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw reports, and I mean it's reports. You don't know it's true or not. But when there was at least a consideration, does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander fit our timeline? There should not be a timeline in the NBA that he does not fit. Yeah. Whether you're the Orlando Magic,
22-year-old superstar point guard in the
LA Lakers, that he fits all 30 teams. Get out of here.
I'm going to go one way I know will make you, mostly happy, but maybe happy, sad. Larry Nance Jr., the prodigal son, returns to Cleveland for the first time. How is life after Larry?
Well, thank goodness for Mobley. Otherwise, I probably would miss him a whole lot more. I mean, life without Larry, you definitely miss Larry Nance's presence, like especially when you think about what this team can do defensively and the fact that they are playing three bigs. It might be fun to see what Mobley, Allen, and Larry would do together as a front court defensively. That feels terrifying to play against, especially if you have someone like Isaac Okoro out there and you're just deciding to not allow a team to score bucket at all. It definitely, it sucks losing Larry. Obviously, the fact that Evan Mobley is playing so well in that role. Kevin Love's really been bought in when he was in the lineup. Has helped make up for that because they are getting quality play at the power forward position, which is really important. And Lauri Markkanen showing the versatility he has helped make up for it as well. But from an emotional standpoint, obviously, I always wish nothing but the best for Larry. I hope to see Portland turn things around because I want to see him experience some success and get into the playoffs and all that stuff. So I want you guys to get right, just not tonight. With this,
do it against the Lakers Friday night.
Anyone listening, go look at the Cavs schedule for October, November, and even like a little bit of December. It is brutal. It is unbelievable. I have never seen anything like this. By the end of the week, the Cavs will have played 20% of their road games for the year. And it's not turning around anytime soon. So it has been a challenge, and it's great to see a young team do so well against such a challenging stretch, because when things lighten up, and you would have to imagine they'd get better as the season progresses and things click, this team might actually have a real chance to compete for that play-in spot.
I was going to say Larry might have a better shot at the playoffs staying in Cleveland than coming over here to Portland, the rate that's going over here. Look, I know you're running an empire on the Cleveland Cavaliers stuff. You're tuned into them. When you've been able to kind of peek out of the corner of your eye at Portland and you've heard or you've read or you've seen, kind of just your general thoughts on what you view as the Portland Trailblazers so far.
I mean, it's similar to what I said in the offseason. Like, I liked some of the moves they did. I think they brought in some floor raisers, Larry being kind of the chief one there. But this was a team that I felt needed a ceiling raiser. And I think that's even more evident when Dame is going through these early season struggles. Certainly, Danny sending me propaganda all the time about the Blazers informs my position a little bit. So I'm corrupted in that way. But yeah,
let's not confuse anybody. It's not positive or negative propaganda. It's just propaganda.
Yeah, his observations, his Twitter threads, they're always fascinating and helped kind of key me in on the sheer volume of open threes the Blazers are allowing. So that's got me a little excited here. But, it's the same situation, right? Like I like players on this team. I just think you're missing that piece that can help put them over the top. And, could happen. It's a long season. Moves can occur, but I think the immediate concern is Damian Lillard needs to play better.
Now, I didn't hear it, but I had somebody send it to me in a tweet. And you guys, if you heard it, then you can correct me. How does it feel to know that guys like Bill Simmons are suggesting Dame should try to get himself to Cleveland?
I'm glad that Bill has his finger on the pulse and understands that the Cavs' biggest need is bringing in another guard. The Cavs fans have been sitting around saying, you know what, this is a team of just wings.
Yeah.
We need a guard.
Cleveland's
so
probably
bad.
the only team that rivals Portland for just a dearth of wings. There's just so many options.
We only have 2 starting caliber point guards right now. Darius Garland and Ricky Rubio. It's just not cutting it. It is weird to hear Cleveland in those type of sentiments. I think he later said in that same podcast that Sexton and Garland are kind of maybe an 8th or 9th man in a rotation. Sexton maybe being a little more. So you know what? I'm glad that casual observers of the Cavs are noticing them.
That you exist? Okay.
I would encourage them to do a little more research, watch a little bit more film. They're playing Boston twice later this month. I would expect Garland will put a much better impression on Bill Simmons in that stretch, especially when you look at the point guard play that's currently happening with the Celtics. But yeah, that was a little bit of a surprising sentiment coming from him.
Normally, I just leave this for Brandon, but this is our first pregame guest. Love it, like it, leave it. So I want to get what are the 3 things that you're looking for? What is your love it tonight? What is your like it? And what is your leave it for the Cavs to get a victory?
Ooh. I would say my love it is the number of threes Portland gives up because the Cavs are very due for that. Their catch and shoot percentage on the season from 3 is 28.7. You would expect that to come up, especially when the guys missing those shots have been traditionally good 3-point shooters. So I would expect that to come along. God. I need a little bit more time. I would say my leave.
He does this to me all the time, and I'm always like, thank
you for the opportunity to really prepare for this segment. That's always appreciated. My leave it is for breakthrough cases of COVID-19 with Kevin Love and Lauri Markkanen out of the lineup. I hope that is where it ends. Adrian Wojnarowski did point out that the Cavs are 100% vaccinated, so you hope that they're not dealing with anything too serious there. From a symptom standpoint. Like it. How do you guys do in the paint? Do you guys?
So that's actually the one. Well? That's actually the one thing that they do well. Not only are they limiting opportunities in the paint, they have one of the best defensive field goal percentages in the paint. Now, shot luck, opponent.
I will say like it because you know what? I like tests early in the season. You know, it's wins and lessons, baby. This team hasn't got a loss yet. So if they can, be effective in the paint against a team, I don't love going against a team that's defended the paint well, but you know what? I like an early season test. You know, we're still in the kind of fun experimenting stage of the season.
All right, Brandon, what is your love it, like it, leave it for the Blazers tonight?
I'm gonna like Larry Nance. Homecoming, FU game. I'm going to prove something to my former teammates. I'm going to leave the bad defense because I'll tell you right now, it scares me that a team that what's the defensive rating now of the Cavs? Is it 24?
I think it's 13th.
Rating? Is it 13th? Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I mixed them up with somebody else in my mind. But leave the bad defense. Stop leaving guys so damn wide open. This is an opportunity. 10th.
Sorry to cut you off. They're back in the top 10, baby. 10.
Let's go. It's always moving.
Gotta love those early season ratings, just sliding up and down, up and down, up and down.
Leave the bad defense, and I'm gonna steal one from my co-host here, but it's hard not to, given how he's played. I love Anthony Simons.
Yeah. I'm gonna go quick here. I love it. I'm going Anthony Simons unabashedly. I don't think there's anybody out there who's gonna be able to push him off his spots, and he has just been on an absolute heater. The only thing slowing him down is CJ McCollum stopping the ball. My leave it right now is Jusuf Nurkic.
I thought you were going to say CJ McCollum.
Oh no, it is CJ McCollum. Oh, my leave it should be CJ McCollum to keep Ant from getting the ball. It's Jusuf Nurkic. He has done horrible in his career with long-range athletic defenders. JaVale McGee maybe is the worst matchup in NBA history for Jusuf Nurkic. He has consistently whooped his ass, and I look at this tonight and I go, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I feel like the Cavs are going to get behind him and put him in bad pick and roll situations. I feel like we're going to see a fair amount of Cody Zeller
I wasn't ignoring you. I was looking at my sleeper fantasy team where I don't know if you guys are familiar with Game Pick, but this is a free ad, but I think they fixed fantasy basketball where you pick one game a week for each of your starters, your 10 starters. So it's a little bit like fantasy football. And I have Nurkic, and I was just double checking that I am not starting him against the Cavs. I am not.
I would say I would not.
I am starting him against Indiana.
Yeah. He does better against more traditional bigs.
Indiana it is, baby.
Yeah. Now that I said that, Nurk's gonna have like 25 at 18, and you're gonna go.
Yeah. He's going to get Mobley in foul trouble for the first time this season. Yeah. It's going to be brutal.
That's how dumb it's going to be. My like it tonight is Larry Nance Jr. I'm cheating as well. I think Larry. I think he gets it. I think he's that dude. I think he wants to show out a little bit for, hey guys, I appreciate you. Not in show out in the you let me go and you traded me, because obviously it was a joint effort to go somewhere else. But I think it's one of those situations where, hey, love you, but got to do it to you. So
there's no way he ends this game with a negative plus minus. I'm
almost sure of that, because that bench unit lineup. It's only been 40 possessions, Justin, but it has been absolutely bonkers production for that group. The one thing I think that will shock you tonight is that the Blazers bench. I started calling it the Good Vibes Club, because the starters have nothing but bad vibes, bad body language, and guys are just too many guys fighting for contracts and not knowing what's going on and trying to figure stuff out. Everybody in the second unit, they just kind of get it right now. And I think that's going to be something that pops its head up tonight. But I'm bummed that we don't get the full strength Cavs, because we don't get to see, well, no, Love won't even be in the building, so they can't even pan a camera to him and remind everybody that he's from Lake Oswego. So I was waiting for that. It's like that and Klay Thompson. Every time they come in the building, they played in Murray Hill Little League together, guys. Did you know? We'll get out of here on this. Justin, go ahead and let everybody know if they want to get their sweet Cav knowledge. Where do they get it from?
Yeah, absolutely. Assuming you're not watching this live, you can get it wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the Chasedown podcast. Talk about the Cavs primarily and the rest of the NBA through our wine and gold colored glasses. You can also find me on Twitter at CavsCanada. Just slap the Cavs in the Canada, and you will find me there. And I apologize for everything I tweet.
Don't ever do that.
Don't apologize. Come on.
Listen,
if I do it on the front end, I never have to apologize again. And that is how I really do it.
The pre-warning.
You set the expectations. You let people know what they're getting into. Yeah. You never want to blindside somebody. But then after that point, ball's in your court. That's completely on you.
Sprague, what are the lines? What do we have for the lines tonight?
So right now, the line actually adjusted a little bit. It was 4.5 this morning. And like I'd say 10 minutes after my radio show, it was announced that Markkanen was out. Line went up a point. So it's Portland minus 5.5. Ooh. The over-under number right now is about 217.
Ooh.
Where are we leaning there, boys?
I'm going over. Yeah.
You're going over?
Yeah.
The Cavs have struggled a little bit offensively, but I would expect them to get some home cooking. Darius Garland is now playing his first home game of the season. Yeah. Him and Larry Nance have played the same number of games in Cleveland this year.
5.5.
5.5. That hook. That scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. I'm not touching it.
You don't think Portland runs away with this one?
No, I'm not. They need a get-right game, and I've heard everybody say, get-right game. It's not a must-win, but it's also probably not a must-lose.
Wasn't Philly a get-right game when everybody was announced to be out?
The Cavs have ran into a couple get-right games from the Lakers and the Suns. The Suns one was the worst because it was their fourth game in 6 nights, and the Suns had 4 days rest going into it, which to that point in the season, the Cavs had 4 days rest total. So it was...
That's brutal.
So this is game 3 and 4 nights for the Trailblazers. That's what kind of makes me go, I don't know, because they didn't have the juice
If Lauri was playing, I would feel pretty good about the Cavs. Coro especially, because the Cavs are definitely missing Okoro. But if it was full squad, I would feel pretty good about the Cavs' chances. But you know what? I think they have a shot. It's a could-win game.
If Cleveland win this game, it would not surprise me.
Yeah, the Cavs right now this week is basically all kind of could-win games, not should. Maybe sometime in 2022 they will have a should-win game.
Isn't that great though to even have could-win games? Because last year it wasn't even could-win games.
It is so refreshing, and the nice thing for the Cavs is they have started every single game this season well. Their first quarter, I think they've won every single first quarter. They've come out of the game really prepared, and for a young team, that's something that you don't necessarily expect. So you got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff, and it certainly makes it more enjoyable as a viewer. Hopefully, knock on wood, that trend continues tonight.
All right, guys, we'll get out of here on that. Thank you, Justin. You can follow him at CavsCanada on Twitter. You can follow Brandon Sprague at Brandon Sprague. You can follow me, of course, at Danny Marang, or you can follow the show at Jacked Ramsays. You can email the show, jackedramsays@gmail.com. Brandon and I will be back for the post-game show following tonight's game. We will catch you guys there. Remember, like, rate, review, subscribe. If you're watching here on YouTube, scroll over, click the subscribe button, turn on the bell to know when we go live. We will follow, like I said, we'll be on after tonight's game, and hopefully have a win to discuss and not go on an 0-3 road trip before they come home to face the Indiana Pacers.